Hello friends, Ace Botany next episode. In this episode, we'll be discussing biodiversity and conservation, fourth part, last part, chapter number 13. So what all things we'll be learning in this episode, etc. I will share the screen so it will be convenient for you. I think screen came, so we can proceed. Biodiversity and conservation, fourth part. As usual, there is an introduction. Then different views regarding conservation. How do we conserve biodiversity? After that, 5 theory question, 5 NEET model question with the key. Meanwhile, remember, YTQ question series will be continuing. Similarly, shorts question will be coming. This theory part will be continuing. So subscribe Ace Botany channel, so you'll be getting all this. So introduction. Why should we conserve biodiversity? See, there are many reasons for it. Some of it will be very clear, very genuine also. Some of it may not be so clear. But remember, all are almost equally important because biodiversity has to be conserved. And it can be grouped into 3 categories based on utilization. 1, narrowly utilitarian view. 2, broadly utilitarian view. 3rd is ethical in nature, NCERT page number 223. Now, utilitarian, that word comes in NCERT. If anybody doesn't know the meaning, utilitarian meaning is regarding utility or usefulness. So first view is narrowly utilitarian view. Narrow. That means mainly concerned with the humans, their economic side. So direct advantage for humans, mainly economic aspect. From nature only we are taking, it includes food, firewood, fiber, construction material, industrial products, all this. Along with it, a very useful item, I will change the page, drugs. Drugs in the sense, products of medicinal importance. And more than 25% of the drugs currently sold in the market worldwide are derived from plants. And 25,000 species of plants contribute to the traditional medicine, which is otherwise called ethnomedicine, used by the native people around the world. Still, there may be more plants not identified or explored yet. NCERT page number 223 again. Connected with this aspect, there is a famous term in NCERT that is, with increasing resources put into the term, it is important, bioprospecting. What is meant by that term? NCERT explains it exploring in 3 levels, molecular, genetic, species level, diversity for products of economic importance. So bioprospecting. That is regarding narrowly utilitarian view. Now we are entering into broadly utilitarian view. So that indicates it is more broad. Means it includes ecosystem services given freely by the nature. It includes oxygen, pollination, aesthetic pleasure, flood and erosion control, etc. Nature give it freely. Broadly utilitarian view. Then last view or 3rd view is, I will change the page. It is called ethical view. Ethics. Idea is, in this planet, we are not alone having life. Millions of organisms survive in this world. Maybe plants, animals, microbes. Thus, this biodiversity is for entire organism. And we have to respect value of each life and each organism. These organisms have life. And that fact we have to consider. So biodiversity, they may be also affected. Because for their future also, biodiversity needed. So that type of aspect, not only humans, millions of organisms, all need, directly or indirectly, the biodiversity and effect of it. NCERT page number 223, 224. I think 3 views clear. Now, how do we conserve biodiversity? So when we conserve and protect the biodiversity, some basic principles are there. For anything, some basic principles will be there. Connected with it, 2 types of conservation are usually practiced. One is called in situ, which is otherwise called on-site. Other is called ex situ, which is otherwise called off-site. Natural and artificial, that is a meaning, direct meaning. So first we can start with the in situ conservation. In situ conservation is also called on-site. On-site move. That is natural, pure natural. Your entire ecosystem has to be protected. Typical example what NCERT tried to explain is, typically we save the entire forest to save the tiger. For this, many issues are there because entire biological wealth has to be saved. Many scientists work in it or on it. And in situ conservation strategies are basically 2 types. It is one hotspot, other is protected area. All are important for exam purpose or exam even. Theoretical only, but don't neglect it. First concept is hotspot. See, biodiversity hotspot, the term was coined by a British biologist Norman Mayers in 1988. And what are the main features of biodiversity hotspot? Very high levels of species richness, high degree of endemism, localization, endemism, even degree of threats based on habitat loss, and this idea given in NCERT page number 224, important for theory entrance. And remember, initially, 25 hotspots are identified worldwide. 25 initial number, later 9 more added, it become 34. And another important aspect, this will cover less than 2% of the Earth land surface. All important question, all direct NCERT. I think it is clear, so we can proceed to next page. Number of species they collectively harbor in extremely high and strict protection of these hotspots. If you do it, we can or could reduce the ongoing mass extinction by almost 30%. Again, NCERT page number 225. In this chapter, many values are there, all are important. Just like Human Genome Project, that data in NCERT. These hotspots are also regions of accelerated habitat loss. In India, 3 of these important hotspots. NCERT, 1, Western Ghats and Sri Lanka. But remember, it is not nation-wise. That is why Sri Lanka. Second is Indo-Burma. And third is Himalaya. And Himalaya is supposed to be world's richest biodiversity hotspot. And totality cover our country's exceptionally high biodiversity areas. I think idea clear. Now comes protected areas. See, protection in land or even in ocean. Purpose is maintenance of biological diversity. It also supported by various cultural and even religious action activities with legal or other support. Efficiency has to be maintained. Then only system will work. Now, a simple classification for protected area, NCERT, page number 224-25. Biosphere reserve, national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, sacred groves, sacred lakes. So this is the next topic we have to discuss. This why. See, India, it is ecologically unique and biodiversity rich region and are legally protected. NCERT says biosphere reserves, one of it, 14 in number, national parks, another one, 90 in number, wildlife sanctuaries, 448 in number. These all are legally protected. And in summary, page number 226, wildlife sanctuary is given as greater than 450. Now we have to proceed with the biosphere reserve. See, in biosphere reserve, tribal people are integral part of it. And this idea, this plan was launched in 1975 under a part of UNESCO program Man and Biosphere MAB. And first biosphere reserve in India, Nilagiri Biosphere Reserve, spread over Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, and established it in 1986. And what is the arrangement in a typical biosphere reserve? This will be the nature. This diagram is old NCERT diagram, but it is very clear. 3 zonation we can find: transition, buffer, and core. And synonym also given there one by one, we have to explain. So transition zone is otherwise called manipulative zone. That is outermost layer. We can find here is outermost, this one. Outermost part, more freedom will be there. Active cooperation between authorities and local people. Settlements, cropping, recreations, etc. even allowed. But there is a simple condition, no disturbance for conservation goals. That should be maintained. After that, to the inner side, we can find buffer zone. Buffer zone surrounds the core area, mainly for research and educational activities. And innermost one, that is called core zone, which is otherwise called natural zone. Legally well protected and undisturbed. So 3 zones, manipulative or transition zone, then research or buffer zone, natural or core area. Core area is innermost, very strict. Now, main functions of biosphere reserve. One is conservation, other is development, third is education and research. Now comes next part, that is national parks. It is for the betterment of both the flora and fauna that is important. Activities like grazing, felling of trees, habitat manipulation, cultivations, etc. not at all allowed. Very strict. And initial national parks include, in the world, Yellowstone in USA in 1872 in the northwest corner of Wyoming. Another is Royal National Park near Sydney, 1879. And India's first national park is Jim Corbett National Park, Uttarakhand. Previously, it was UP in 1936. Initial name was Haley National Park, later renamed in 1957. In Kerala, first national park is Iravikkulam National Park in 1978. Main organism preserved is Nilagiri Thar, an endangered mountain goat. Important that all came previously. For example, that is why I just represented it. Now comes sanctuaries. It mainly includes land area. It mainly protects animals. Animals, previous case, both. That's a regular question. Animals are protected from all types of disturbances, but relaxation is there in collection of forest product, private ownership, then tilling of land, etc. For that, some reduction is there. Now comes sacred grove. Due to certain cultural and religious practices, trees and forest protected. These areas are called islands of pristine forest. Pristine means unspoiled, clear. That way it proceeds. And some of it in India include NCERT page number 225, important for your maths the following theory entrance. Khasi and Jaintia Hills in Meghalaya, Aravalli Hills of Rajasthan, Western Ghat regions of Karnataka, Maharashtra. Then Sarguja, Chanda, vaster areas of Madhya Pradesh. Maths the following important. In Meghalaya, sacred groves and sacred forests are the last refuges for a large number of rare and threatened plants. Now come sacred lakes and sacred plants. Certain lakes and plants are considered as sacred or holy. So naturally, we'll be giving some protection. Lakes, two famous lakes. One is Ketchupelleri Lake in Sikkim. Other is Pushkar Lake in Rajasthan. Plants include more familiar Tulasi Ocimum sanctum, Rudraksha, Elaeocarpus floribunda. Now comes ex situ conservation, off-site. Here the threatened animals and plants are taken out from their natural habitat because if we keep there, it may get extinct. So it is taken from their natural habitat and placed in a special setting where they are protected and given special care. That is how it becomes ex situ, off-site. Now some ex situ conservation strategies include typical example, botanical garden, zoological park, wildlife safari park, arboreta, where trees will be grown, arbor, aquaria, home gardens, seed banks, cryopreservation, field gene banks, etc. These all are ex situ. Now comes another important area for example, conventions on biodiversity. So biodiversity is a must. It should be absolutely maintained not only for one species or two species, entire world. And the organism, no, area, no, population, no, entire world. Its effect is global. So biodiversity has to be protected in this entire world. For that purposes, many steps have been taken, mainly by human beings. And that also include conventions. And basically, NCERT has two famous conventions in this context. One is Convention on Biological Diversity, which is otherwise called Earth Summit 1992, famous, at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And what was the aim? All nations to take appropriate measure for conservation of biodiversity and sustainable utilization of its benefit. Like a continuation, second summit came after 10 years, the World Summit on Sustainable Development 2002 at Johannesburg, South Africa. All NCERT, page number 225. 190 countries pledged their commitment to achieve by 2010 a significant reduction in the current rate of biodiversity loss in global, regional, and local levels. That is regarding the last episode of Biodiversity and Conservation, that is chapter number 13, fourth one. After that, as usual, 5 theory question, 5 NEET model question with the key. So what all things we learned in this episode? Chapter name, episode all we discussed. Then main topics, starting with the introduction, what should we conserve? Then utilitarian views explained, narrow, of which one important term, bioprospecting. Here, narrow, bioprospecting, 3 levels. Then broadly utilitarian view, ecosystem services. ethical view, that is considering all others like human beings. That are three main views. Then how do we conserve biodiversity? Basically two methods, in situ and ex situ, on-site and off-site. Now, in situ, that is on-site mode, natural. And their ecosystem has to be protected. That is the idea. And under which two types, one is hotspot and other is protected area. Under hotspot, scientist Norman Mayers, British biologist 1988, coined the term biological or biodiversity hotspot. Features of it, that is high level of species richness, high degree of endemism, even degree of threats. Initially 25 hotspot, then later 9 has been added, that become 34. And this will cover less than 2% of Earth land surface. Then, this way, if we conserve these hotspots, etc., could reduce the ongoing mass extinction by almost 30%, NCERT. And India concerned with or connected with hotspot, three hotspots, Western Ghats and Sri Lanka, Indo-Burma and Himalaya. Himalaya is one of the world's richest biodiversity hotspot. Then came next area, that is protected area. So protection given, maybe natural, maybe human-wise or a religion-wise, that way some kind of protection. So by which biodiversity can be maintained, but anyway, efficiency has to be also taken care. Now classification, biosphere reserve, national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, sacred groves and sacred lakes. Now in India, normally 14 biosphere reserve, national parks 90, wildlife sanctuary 448, but in summary of this NCERT, they given more than 450, page number 226. This all belongs to NCERT, March 24 reprint edition. Now comes biosphere reserve. It was launched in 1975 under a UNESCO program, Man and Biosphere, MAB. First biosphere reserve in India is Nilagiri Biosphere Reserve, spread over 3 states in 1986. Then components of a typical biosphere. NCERT diagram not present, previous one, where we can find 3-zone transition buffer and core. When we come from outside to inner, things will be more and more strict. Then main functions of biosphere reserve, conservation, development and education research. Then came the term national parks. National park, remember, flora and fauna is protected. Much human activities will not be allowed. And initial national parks include Yellowstone in USA 1872, Wyoming, Royal National Park near Sydney 1879. In India, first national park, Jim Corbett National Park, presently in Uttarakhand 1936. Initial name was Haley National Park, later renamed in 1957. First in Kerala, Iravikulam National Park 1978, main organism Nilagiri, endangered mountain god. Then came, sanctuaries. In sanctuaries, mainly protection is only for animals or fauna. Little bit more relaxation is there comparing with the national park. Then came sacred groves. Cultural and religious practices, trees and forests are protected. And typical example, such areas, it is called islands of pristine forest. Pristine means unspoiled, pure. Some of it include 4 important areas and places where it is located. Match the following type question. Then in Meghalaya, sacred groves and sacred forests, last refuge for this protection, etc. Now comes sacred lakes and sacred plants. 2 lakes, Kechopalari Lake in Sikkim, Pushkar Lake in Rajasthan, plants like Tulasi, Osimant sanctum, Rudraksha, Eleocarpus floribunda. Ex situ conservation, that is off-site. So we are taking from the natural system and artificially we are giving it. Otherwise it may get extinct. Now comes some ex situ conservation strategies. Botanical garden, zoological park, wildlife safari park, arboretum, etc. That way, 8 or 9 list will be there. Then conventions, another important item for preserving biodiversity. 2 famous conventions connected with NCERT. One is Convention on Biological Diversity, Earth Summit 1992 at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And the aim is all nations to take appropriate measure for conservation of biodiversity and sustainable utilization of its benefits. Second is like a continuation after 10 years, World Summit on Sustainable Development 2002, Johannesburg, South Africa. 190 countries pledged their commitment to achieve by 2010 a significant reduction in the current rate of biodiversity loss in global, regional, and local levels. After that, there will be 5 theory question, 5 NEET model question with a key. If you like this episode, subscribe or like it, share it, comment on it. And questions will be regularly coming. Short will be there. Then Biotech question series will be there. So please subscribe or share it so all we can get it. For time being, we can wind up. We can meet later. Take care. Bye. Thank you.